She walked into a meeting with her most senior leader, presentation fully prepared. He looked at it and said, "Put it away. Just talk to me." And she froze. In this episode, I'm going to show you exactly what that moment means and how to never be caught off guard like that again. One additional quick note, this live coaching session with Lynn has been anonymized, meaning Lynn's not a real name, and we replaced her voice with an AI voice. So what you're hearing is you're hearing me, my actual voice, what I actually said, and you're hearing what she actually said just through a different voice so she could share openly. And we can give you the experience of this coaching session. There's a lot of great stuff in here about showing up more strategically.
Welcome to Leadership Mindset 2.0. Practical neuroscience and psychology to transform you from a tactical doer into a strategic leader. Here is your host, former social entrepreneur of the year and coach to some of the world's top executives, R. Michael Anderson.
All right, Lynn. So what's the number one thing that you want to work on that if we come to a good resolution is really going to move the needle on your leadership in your life?
For me, it's communication. I really need to dig deep into how I lift my communication style. So I've recently moved into a higher position, and part of my role is engaging with senior leadership of the organisation. What I do struggle with is being able to articulate my thoughts in the moment and to be able to think on my feet. And I feel if I can't nail this, it's going to hold me back. It's just a real challenge for me to really step up to where I need to be for this role.
I get that. I had to go through that same learning, and this is common. So I totally get that. This is a great thing to work on. Give a little bit of context of what your role is, how long you've been in there, where this happens, etc.
I've been in very operational and tactile leadership roles previously, running different teams across operations, and then moving into the supply chain. And then my more recent role, I've only been in it for about 3 months. I've moved into the manager role, and my current role is actually a lot more strategic. So it's trying to shift the thinking and the communication into that strategic world. I've taken on the role to lead a productivity initiative. It's very exciting. It's really going to be a lot of value for the business. It is a real compliment that they've taken me on to do the role. It involves a lot of engagement with senior leadership as well as the teams.
Give me a recent example, first thing that comes to your mind when you were in a place or time where you wish you would have answered differently or showed up differently.
In a meeting with the most senior leader, and I had prepared a presentation which I thought was going to drive the conversation. And then he actually told me to just get rid of the presentation, and he wanted me to just talk honestly. And it kind of took me a bit back by surprise because I had something well prepared. So I probably gave him not a very meaningful feedback. It was just a bit of a blah, this is what I need, instead of being thorough about what I actually wanted from him. So, yeah, it wasn't, I guess I didn't get the outcome I could have achieved from that question.
Do you want to work on understanding senior leaders better or working on you showing up differently in the moment, or both?
Both.
Good answer. So what did you learn out of that interaction that is important to him?
That he wants authenticity. He actually doesn't want a presentation. That was the key takeaway. And I'd spent quite a bit of time preparing for the meeting where I should have just known my content and gone there with what I wanted. So I did take a key learning away from it.
I'll be quite honest, as somebody who's owned businesses and been president of the board of directors, the first time a PowerPoint presentation comes up, I tense up because there's normally certain things that I want. And if we can just handle them and have a conversation about them, I'm so much happier. Everybody's not like me, but it sounds like your CEO is. Based on what he interacted with you there or perhaps other times, like what questions did he ask you? What did he focus on in that time or maybe one or two previous times that stick out?
So he asked me a very straightforward question. What is your biggest challenge right now? And what do you need from me? That was all he asked. And while I could articulate some of it, I think it came out more as babble than a very articulated, like, this is what I need. So maybe I wasn't. My response wasn't as sharp as it could have been.
So by going into detective mode or investigation mode, I'll tell you my impressions, but if you were listening to somebody else, like a friend tell you that, what can you deduce about the CEO?
That he doesn't have a lot of time, and he wants his time to be used meaningfully. And you need to go in there with just what you need from him that's meaningful to him.
Yes, he is there's all different personality types. He is a very dominant commander. If anybody out there knows the leadership styles, he just wants the bottom line. And look, not everybody's like this, but he just wants the bottom line, and he's got your back. He wants to know your biggest challenge and how he can help you, which is amazing. People like this, Lynn, they respect people that can get to the bottom line, and they can also be challenged. They don't mind bluntness. They don't mind difficulties. They like challenges. So keeping this in mind can help you in every other interaction with them. And the more you're going to be able to do that, the more he's going to see you as a strategic player, the more he's going to be like, hey, we need to invite Lynn to this meeting or make sure Lynn comes, So that's really important for you to, and it could be like, look, I'm not going to waste your time. Here's the issue. Boom. And just, he doesn't need to, you don't need to ask him how his weekend was, how his kids are, you know what I mean? All that different type of stuff.
So, Mike, I might ask though, if I reflect on it, my response was quite tactical as well, because that's still probably where my mindset is a little bit, because it's all around how do I do the doing? How would I shift that to be more strategic response?
Yes. Can you give me some details about the project and about the, you can make them general or whatever feels right to you so that we can talk through that. Because the more specific we are, the more it's going to help.
So the project, like any other project, has got key milestones and key activities that need to be achieved. So when he asked me the question, what was my biggest challenge? I automatically went to one of my challenges within the specific milestones or activities. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Without thinking more broadly about the full system, I thought of it in silos and the challenge per silo.
If you were executive managing this project or like the executive that this project was under, and you had 40 other projects like this, and you were talking to the project lead, what would you want to know if you were him?
Are we at risk of delivery and meeting those key dates?
Yeah. And what can he do to make sure that you're successful?
Yes, yeah. So what roadblocks can he remove? Yeah.
Or, maybe it's a budget, maybe it's time. What's great sometimes is to say, hey, can you talk to somebody in marketing because I need this or I need that type of thing. Sometimes can you talk to the team? Can you talk to the project team just to make sure everybody knows this is on your radar? Things like that can go really far. 10 minutes from, I don't know if he's your CEO, talking to the project team can sometimes just wake everybody up to get on board with the project.
That makes sense. If I were to reverse that, so if the meeting is actually at the request of himself, so he's requested this time, but there's nothing directly that involves him that I need his support on how can I use the time most effectively. If I don't have to actually ask him for anything and everything is actually on track.
That's a great question because, this is an opportunity for you to connect strategically with him. Just being like, hey, Mr. President, everything's good, everything's on budget, and then go. That's good, and that reflects well on you, but it's like you could, and this is a fun thing to do, what are some strategic questions you can ask him about this project or how this fits in with the overall vision? Or talk about this where the more senior as a leader you are, the more I and a lot of other senior leaders are evaluating everybody. Every little interaction, it's like, is this person strategic? Can I have a strategic person? Because it's so hard to get people to truly act and think strategically on a team. But when you do, you can move really fast. And I often will evaluate people by the questions they ask.
Okay.
So you might want to think of a couple questions of, hey, why do we decide to do this now? Why did we pick this vendor? How does this link with, the other initiative we have? If you get good at asking these questions and think of something good, he'll be like, oh, Lynn, that's a good question. And because he wants to talk about these strategic things with people. So saying that, what are a couple things that you could ask him next time or you could have in your pocket?
So one of the big things that we're promoting in the company at the moment is around systems thinking. So if I were to have the opportunity again to go and have a chat to him, and I didn't have anything to ask him for, I would ask him, taking your advice there, how does the project fit into the whole strategic thinking of the organisation? And how do we promote that with the other leaders? Is that a good question?
Exactly. That's a great one. That's a great one. What else could you ask him about, like a detail about risk? It could be like, hey, things are going well.
Yeah.
I have identified a risk, based on this critical path. You can give him, a heads up, or, hey, things are going now. We get a big milestone in 2 weeks, and I'm going to give you a heads up. All those different types of things, because he just wants a real bird's eye view, and the less stuff you can have hitting him out of right field, the better. Another great thing to do to get people on your side is to ask for mentorship, because people always want to help people that they help. And so it could be, if you have something, and of course you got to be authentic, but it might be like, I'm choosing between these two vendors. Can I run this by you? And you could give me some input on this. I can make it by myself, but it's just, since I have your time, it'd be good to, and then like lay it out. And it would give you good practice in laying things out concisely and strategically.
Yeah.
And it would give just a good interaction for him to strategically mentor you a bit. And that's always a good back and forth.
Yeah, that's great. I like that. I will definitely take that on board. I might broaden my question as well too, further than just the senior leader. Part of my role is also to present to the broader leadership team, so that includes your general managers, etc. My question is that sometimes we'll go into these sessions and there's a lot of conversations. It's a very open conversation. But given that I'm not quite at the level they are, sometimes I find it difficult to raise, I guess, my opinion and actually have a voice, because I have a level of where do I actually fit into the conversation. So just seeking some guidance on, is it okay to speak up? I do have a seat at the table, but how do I do it respectfully but get my point across?
Yeah, that's a good one. Couple things I would do is, if you haven't done this already, how many key senior leader stakeholders are there?
There will be 15 to 20 in the room.
I would take the 5 or 7 most influential ones, and I would basically profile them, for lack of a better term. And I go through this in the book, where what's their personality type? Maybe it's a CFO. What is the CFO evaluated on? What's important to her in this project? What is her initiatives for the year? And maybe review that until you know it offhand. And that's a great exercise for anybody to do, because then if you see him in the hall or you see him at lunch, coffee or whatever, you can be like, hey, how's, whatever going, and frame things in that manner. Give me a more specific example of what you maybe would have wanted to bring up, but you didn't.
One of the key agenda items was around a communication plan for the project and how we were going to cascade this to the broader teams and the large number of individuals that would be impacted. We're talking thousands. There was a conversation around the medium we would use and how we would make a difference compared to all the other comms for similar initiatives. So I wanted to draw on a previous challenge we had when we talked about inclusion and diversity, maybe 10 or 11 years ago, when it was very difficult to talk about that topic, and then we made it very transparent and open. I wanted to take a similar approach because there's been a productivity initiative which can sometimes carry an unconscious bias, a negative connotation when the workforce hears the word productivity, but I couldn't quite find the right moment to bring it into the conversation.
Is that because you didn't have confidence to raise your hand?
Because there were lots of conversations. You can imagine with a room full of 15 people and the senior leadership, they have very open conversations, and there just wasn't a pause for me to actually interject and for me to actually give my opinion.
Well, then sometimes you got to take some space, even if they're senior leaders.
Yeah.
And just generally how you can do this. You're the project lead, is that right?
Correct. Yep.
You can show some leadership, even though they're maybe older and maybe, a couple levels higher, you do want to show some leadership. And I know this takes resilience. It'll be like, hey, there's a lot of conversations. I want to make sure we handle everything, but can you talk and then you talk? You have to put yourself out there for that. And that's going to show real leadership. Oftentimes people, even though they're senior leaders, they get stuck into tactical stuff. It'll be like, oh my gosh, why are we talking about this? And it shows great leadership strategic presence when you go, okay, hey, we're talking about a lot of details. Can we get this back to a strategic conversation? Let's bring it back up and then we can handle that. And people are like, whoa, Lynn knows what she's doing. She's, that's
like that.
really, really powerful. And when it comes to that, there are just some times when you're going to have to look for your time, or at the end say, hey, wait, this is important for us to do as well, but let's talk about it again next time. So I don't know if I have a magic wand for that, but there's no, I don't know if there's any magic trick to that. But the more you are keeping the cats herded, for lack of a better term, like, hold on, three people are talking at once. Can you share and then you share and then you share? They'll start to listen to your voice when you speak up. And the more you can insert those strategic things like, hey, we got 8 more things on the agenda. So can we just come to a resolution on this in a minute? Otherwise we'll take it offline. They're really going to respect that. And in the beginning of the meeting, you can also say, hey, look, with everybody's permission, I'm going to keep this on track. So I may keep things moving so that we get through all the agenda items. Is that all right? And then, everybody says yes, say thank you. So you get a little psychological buy-in for that.
That's great advice. Thank you. Along the same lines as communication, one of the challenges I find is finding the right words. I don't know if there is a magic wand for this either, but sometimes you listen to, especially senior leadership, and they just seem to be able to frame their words really well. They're able to pick up a conversation and articulate it so well. So sometimes it's, I guess, a bit overwhelming. You go, oh, how do I talk like that as well? Is that a learnt skill?
There's 2 things. One thing, it is a learned skill that you can practice. And for example, if you take the 5 to 7 most influential people and you write down, like, what is their personality like? What are their initiatives? You want to practice putting things into, framing things into, what's important for them. And this is, Lynn, a skill that you are going to learn. And you do that by practice. Just the fact is their mind thinks like that all the time. And they've had practice doing this for maybe a decade. So you're starting to think like that, but you've lived your life in the tactical world. When you're preparing for the meeting, for example, you might want to spend half an hour to an hour thinking, okay, this is what's important to Mary. These are the 3 questions she may ask. These are how I would answer them. And this and this and this. So you will literally write out and even say, I know it sounds corny, but practice articulating beforehand your answer out loud, because that's going to give some muscle memory. And then you're going to go in so much more confident. And the funny thing is, they probably won't even ask any of those 3 questions because of your preparation. People that are battle commanders, they're like, look, the plan never works, but if we didn't plan, we'd be screwed. So put in that preparation and you'll go in with confidence in the ability to do that. Does that make sense?
Definitely, yes, it does.
In addition, I would, if you haven't already, I would invite all those most influential people to coffee, maybe even all 15 over the next 3 months, just for half an hour. Say, hey, look, you're on this project. I'd love to learn more about you, and just have a one-on-one conversation. Just ask, what's important to you in this project? I'm curious. I never was a CFO before. What do you evaluate it on? What's important for your department? That and you being exposed to them, you're going to see how they frame things and just really get curious. They'll have a new respect for you. And it sounds funny, like, how are they going to have respect for me if I'm asking questions? But, just think, if you had somebody come up and ask you really insightful questions about your project, you'd be like, hey, they just ask questions, but I really like them and respect them,
Yes, thank you. It's about that connection as well as the communication.
Totally. Now, also, I think you asked about this and you just alluded to it. When you are in the meeting, you want to be present. So what can happen when we are in a meeting with people more senior than us is we get in our head. Like, what about this? What about that? Does that resonate?
Absolutely does. Yes, it does. You can overthink things, yeah.
Yes, preparation helps a lot. A meditation practice helps as well. Do you have a meditation practice?
Not frequently, no.
Okay. Well, the more you can do that's strengthening that. And what really helps is looking over your preparation for the meeting and then taking like a 10 or 15 minute walk before the meeting. Because don't book anything right in front of it. Don't keep looking over your notes. Just do some breathing exercises. Do a 10-minute thing on, Insight Timer app or Calm app, and then show up, 2 or 3 minutes early and just one more look over your notes. And then when you're in the meeting, make sure you stay grounded. And so that might be, I'm sitting on the chair every time I find my mind wandering. I'm wiggling my toes or I rub my fingers and my forefingers and feel that, because that brings me more present, because you want to be present and alert. You don't want to be too passive. You don't want to be too assertive. But you want to be there listening to everybody presently and being in the flow of things.
Okay, makes sense. Thank you. My question is around how I can use communication to be an effective influencer. So part of my role now is around influencing decisions, strategies, etc. How can I really build on my communication style to be effective?
To me, being influential is about planting seeds. Influence doesn't normally happen immediately. And when I do, this is fun to do when I coach one-on-one, they want something to happen. Maybe I'm coaching a VP and he wants something to happen. So what we do is we work out a conversation they can have with somebody who's important to that, where they just drop a seed, and the seed is important to that person. And you don't even know if they're going to take the seed, but normally you do. You have a good idea. So it's not telling them outright what you need, but it's getting them thinking about it. And then subconsciously they'll come up with it, or when it comes back around, they'll make the connection. So to me, influence is a lot about planting these seeds. Do you see how that can work?
Yes. Yeah, I can see that. That can work definitely.
Can you tell me your communication style and maybe someone you want to influence, and we can come up with a more specific strategy?
Sure. So I'm very self-aware of my communication style. It's very direct and to the point. I've always struggled a little bit around the softer edges. I like to get stuff done, so I'll be very to the point. We need to do this. This is what we need to do right now. This is what I need from you. So I am, as I said, self-aware around it. I do try and soften my tone. It lands well with some people because some people like that style. But then being able to actually adjust my communication style to certain individuals is probably where I have a gap, because I just want them to get to the point straight away.
Yeah, I'm the same way, Lynn. I get that. And it was funny. I had a guy that ran one of my software companies. I'm a dominant commander too. I don't really need to talk about the weather. I just want to boom, get to it. And especially when it's somebody I know and I talk to every week. But a guy who ran it he's the nicest guy. His name's Bob, and he's a relationship guy. And I knew every time we had our weekly check-in, I'd be like, "Hey Bob, what'd you do this weekend?" "Michael, good to talk to you." Da, 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 da. And he needed that 7 minutes of connection. And I would just be, "All right, Mike, just suck it up. This is what you need. He's a great guy. You look at it, he's got your back, and this is what you need." So think of somebody that you wish you could have more of a connection with. You don't have to give me their name. Do you have them in your mind?
Yeah, it'd be one individual that I work very closely with now.
Describe their personality style and describe why you feel it doesn't go well.
So they actually have a very similar personality style in the sense that also dominant commander. So I may go in with a direction and they've got a direction of their own, and trying to find that middle ground so we actually come under the right outcome. That's where it can actually be difficult. So sometimes it's actually the same communication style that I find difficult to influence. There is this one individual, what I'm needing her to do is come on board with the way the program is running, but she has very strong biases to the way she wants it to go. So it's been trying to influence her and bring her on the journey so that it sort of fits in with the rest of the program instead of it going off on a tangent.
What have you tried with her already?
So I did actually go in with a more softer approach, the collaborative approach, listened to what she had to say, and sort of gave the view of how we want the program to be run. What I've found is that now I feel a little bit like there's manipulation because I went in very collaborative. I knew she was a direct personality, so I didn't want to go and clash with her straight away. But now I'm finding it difficult because she's trying to own the journey.
She's trying to own the journey. It's definitely your project, correct?
Correct. Yeah. But she is a key stakeholder, and the outcome of the project directly impacts her department.
I'll give you a tactic. Lynn, you have good intuition, so you're going to have to figure out if this is right. There's a real power about having to sit down with her and being so direct and honest in a neutral, positive way that it puts it on the table. And it might look like, "Hey, miss, whatever, or Betty, I don't know. I appreciate that we have different approaches to this. And I see where you're coming from on yours, and I also know that you're a big stakeholder, that it affects you and it affects everything else. And to be honest, I feel like there's tension between us. And I just wanted to bring that up so we could talk through that.
Okay, so honesty.
Yeah, and I find with leadership, when you can call out the unspoken, and when I say in the moment, not like a week ago, it's okay to do that, something that happened a week ago to talk about it, but it's even more when it's present. It shows great leadership, it shows vulnerability, it shows courage. And she may say, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. And then, you may want to press a little bit. So I might say like, are you sure? Because I'm picking that up. I don't know, maybe it's me, maybe it's not. But if there is, I got a lot of respect for you. You're really key. And, honestly, I feel a little bad that we didn't go with yours because, I saw where you're coming from on that. I just, in this case, I really needed to do it this way. And I want to make sure that, we're aligned on this. And I still, want to, you're still massively important. I'm still here to listen to you. So I just want to give us this one chance. If there's anything that needs to be on the table, that we put it on the table.
Yeah. Okay. I'll definitely give that a go and try that strategy with her. Thank you.
When you frame it right and you come with the right energy, there's, in a way, no risk. Because either she's going to say, yeah, okay, there's a little bit, and then you'll laugh about it, or you'll come up with something, or she'll deny it, but then she knows you're going to call it out, and then she'll be less apt to do it.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. I'll definitely try that with my next interaction with her. I'll definitely be a bit more mindful. I like that approach. It's collaborative, but also firm in the same instance.
You're doing a lot of really important career things. You're really stepping up. You're interacting with senior leaders on strategic type things. You are putting yourself forward. These are smart, some are proactive things that is going to take you to the next level and the next level.
Thank you. It's great to get that encouragement that I am taking the right steps, because sometimes there are so many things you can be doing. So it is good to get that feedback.
Yeah, the only bad step is not to do anything. What are you taking away from this session?
You've given me the confidence to speak up in meetings and to actually hold my own space there. Thinking about strategic questions, this one's going to be a big takeaway for me. So take the opportunity to ask the strategic questions when I'm in a room with senior leadership, just to leave a lasting impression. So I really, really took that one as one of my key takeaways.
Awesome. Is there anything else I can answer for you while we're here?
No, thank you very much. I know there was a lot of topics we covered there, but they all had the communication theme around them, and you've really helped a lot. So thank you.
All right, Lynn. Well, it's been a real pleasure. Keep us up to date. Okay, that's the coaching session. I hope you got a lot out of it. Lynn brought a lot to the table, and I hope you can see how senior leaders look at you and evaluate you. And that is my challenge for you, dear leader. So many leaders are focused on doing their job so well, they never stop to ask how their leaders are evaluating them. And I'm not just talking about KPIs. I'm talking about your attitude. I'm talking about your communications. I'm talking about your relationships with your peers, everybody else, even with customers and vendors. So right now, I want you to just be honest with yourself. If you were your own senior leader, or you can put yourself in their shoes, how would you evaluate you as a strategic leader? Where are your gaps at? Are you being the strategic leader they need you to be so that they can succeed and that they can help you succeed and they can promote you with a proper conscience? That's what it's all about, leaders. I'll see you next time.